and Strasviche and Namaskar. See, the Indian ESG network is honored to co-host the first Indo-Russian roundtable on cooperation for sustainable development with Gazprombank. It's one of the leading Russian banks. See, India and Russia share a very deep friendship. And now, as we embark on this major journey of trade to be expand over the next few years, it is imperative that we also work together on sustainability issues facing our two countries and the rest of the world. We are delighted to have this opportunity to work together with the Russian and Indian corporate and sustainability leaders, laying the ESG foundation and the roadmap for Indo-Russian trade partnership. See, we would like to thank Mr. Mikhail Glazhev, the Counselor Finance of Russian Embassy in India, and the representative of Ministers of Finance, Russian Federation, for joining us. In fact, in our last week's meeting at the Russian Embassy, the senior team members from the Russian Embassy requested us to structure a joint management development program from leading management and technology institutes of Russia and India, and which would have a major sustainability component. And I would like to thank Dr. Anjal Prakash, who is one of the most prominent face in Indian sustainability space, for agreeing to chair this roundtable. I would also take this opportunity in thanking Manish Kumar from Indo-Russian Friendship Forum, who initiated our partnership with the Russian side. I would want to thank the Gazprombank, who is our co-host for this event and have partnered with Indian ESG Network to work together in the sustainability space. So now we welcome all our esteemed speakers and participants to this roundtable and hope that we have a fruitful discussion. We look forward to working with the Russian and Indian corporate and sustainability leaders and assist in whatever is possible to create a beautiful planet which we can proudly hand over to our coming generations. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Mikhail Glazhev to share his welcome address. Thank you.
Thank you and good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank the Indian ESG Network and Russian Gazprombank for organizing this event and bringing us all here today. My special thanks also to Mr. Manish Kumar, the president of Druzhba Dosti Forum, and Mr. Sergei Mitreykin, the representative of Gazprombank in India. I'm also glad to see familiar faces, especially Evgeny Khilinsky, with whom we worked in the Russian Ministry of Finance. Russia and India have established diplomatic relations from the beginning of Indian independence. And over these decades, our relations grew stronger and deeper. However, it was only starting from the previous year that our economic cooperation started to unlock, the potential started to unlock. You know that today Russia is the fifth trading partner of India. We've reached almost 44 billion in trade turnover from 11, which was our previous record. So today we are more than special and privileged strategic partners. We are also business partners at last. And today's roundtable is more important in this case. We're opening a new book, a new chapter, which we'll be signing and which we'll be reading. Let us transform the quantity into quality. Wishing all the participants very useful and future-oriented discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vikrant, Mr. Mikhail Glazhev, for your warm welcome words. Let me also greet all of our speakers and participants. And first of all, I should thank Ecumena Club for this event and International and Comparative Law Research Center for hosting it. And from from the name of Gazprombank, I should say that India-Russia cooperation is now gaining momentum, and this is clearly seen in many formats. However, among the open platforms, it's mostly intergovernmental formats, including BRICS and G20. And this is, of course, very, very good. But at the same time, we see the need for platforms which could enhance the dialogue among businesses. And I'd like to thank the Ecumena team once again, and also Manish Kumar and his Druzhba Dasti Forum and Indian ESG Network for delivering one which we hope may evolve into a recurring format, providing opportunities for an ongoing dialogue. So let me now present the speakers from the Russian side. We have today Elena Mikotnikova. She's head of climate and carbon regulation, Sibur. Sibur is one of the world's fastest growing petrochemical players and Russia's leading polymer and rubber manufacturer. Next, I would like to present Nikita Vorobyov. He's head of climate and ecology, NLMK. NLMK Group is a leading international manufacturer of high-quality steel products with a vertically integrated business model. Then I would like to present Olga Kalashnikova. She's offline with me, sitting next to me. Olga is head of environment in Severstal. Severstal is Russian steel and mining company that remains a global leader in efficiency with the highest EBITDA margin in the steel industry worldwide. Then I would like to present Irina Bakhtina. She's online with us. She's the Director for Sustainable Development in Rusal. Rusal is a leading company in the global aluminium industry, producing metal with a low carbon footprint. 90% of the company's aluminium is produced from renewable electricity and by implementing innovative and energy-saving technologies. Then I would like to present Kristina Popeluk. She's sitting near Evgeny Helinsky. She's offline with us. She's head of the Department of Sustainable Development in Novatek. And Novatek is the largest independent natural gas producer in Russia, and the company is principally engaged in the exploration, production, processing, and marketing of natural gas and liquid hydrocarbons. Also, we have two participants of the discussion from the Russian side, and I would like to present Irina Gaida. She's Deputy Director of Business Development, Project Center for Energy Transition and ESG, Skolkovo Institute of Science and Technology, Skoltech. The Project Center, among others, implements continuing professional education, research, and also open reviews in decarbonization and energy transition. Another one participant of the discussion is Anastasia Klueva. She's head of international projects, Unigreen Energy. She will join us in 5 minutes, I hope. Unigreen Energy is the largest full-cycle company in the field of renewable energy, and it implements projects based on renewable energy sources in Africa, CIS countries, and Latin America. So now I'm passing. Huh? Oh. So now I'm passing the floor to Dr. Anjal Prakash, Associate Professor, Research and Research Director, Bharati Institute of Public Policy, and he will present the speakers from the Indian side. Welcome.
I guess Punita will do that. So over to you, Punita.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So thank you, dear all speakers and all the participants who are watching us. So I'll quickly introduce the speakers in the interest of time. Dr. Anjal Prakash is an experienced researcher and academician currently serving in the research director in the Bharati Institute of Public Policy, Indian School of Business. He is also an associate professor at Terry School of Advanced Sciences and serves on the editorial board of various environment and sustainability journals. Welcome, Dr. Anjal. He would be chairing the session today. Our second speaker is Mr. Dinesh Agarwal. He's working as the principal consultant with Consortia Advisory. He has more than 40 years of experience in the areas of ESG, sustainability, business excellence, corporate social responsibility. He was the general manager and national head of CSR and sustainability of NTPC and consulting advisor in CII in various capacities. Our next speaker is Mr. Sanjay Gupta. He was the former president of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India. He is currently the member of CII National Committee on Financial Reporting and also a member of the Sustainability Reporting Standard Boards of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He holds more than 25 years of experience in finance, regulatory, and compliance frameworks. Next speaker is Commander Suchin Jain. He's a naval architect, structural designer, analyst for various indigenous aircrafts, carrier INS Vikrant, and he worked in Russia for over 2 years for modernization of aircraft carrier INS Vikramaditya. He's the founder, director, CEO of iPanel Clean, which is a disruptive patented technology in waterless solar panels, self-cleaning system, which has received many national and international recognitions. Mr. Arindam is our next speaker, who's a passionate professional with career spanning 3 decades. The initial decade was spent in manufacturing sector, following 2 decades experience all domains of education and training. He's currently on the advisory board for many startups, educational institutions, and policy review committees of state and central government institutions. Mr. Mayank is the sixth speaker on the Indian side. He's a professional with more than 14 years of rich experience in energy and environment management, sustainability reporting, data analytics of various energy and environment interactive industries. He's currently the head ESG of Zydus Life Sciences Limited, a listed company ranked 100th in the Fortune India 500 list in 2020. So we welcome all the speakers, and I hand over to Dr. Anjal. He would be sharing the session, initiating the session. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Punita. Dear ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and friends from around the world, welcome to the special gathering that we explore deep-rooted partnership between India and Russia in the pursuit of sustainable development. Today, we set to stage and discuss the issues of India and Russia cooperation for sustainable development. Now, I'll take a few minutes to just give you a context of this very important meeting. India and Russia, 2 nations with very rich histories, vibrant cultures, and diverse landscape, have recognized the importance of sustainable development. Both countries understand the economic growth and environmental stewardship goes hand in hand, and that the cooperation is essential to tackle the pressing global challenge as we face today. India, a country known for its vast population, rapid economic transition, has made significant strides in sustainable development. With ambitious renewable energy targets, innovative waste management initiative, and a focus on inclusive growth, India has emerged as a leader in the global sustainability arena. Likewise, Russia, on the other hand, with its vast territories, abundant natural resources, and a commitment to environment conservation, has played a crucial role in preserving biodiversity and mitigating climate change. The country's effort in sustainable forestry, energy efficiency, and environment protection has been commendable. The cooperation between India and Russia in the realm of sustainable development is not merely symbolic, but also rooted in substantial action. The 2 nations have forged partnership in various sectors such as energy, technology, and infrastructure, and to drive sustainable growth and find innovative solutions in a shared challenge. Joint initiatives like the International Solar Alliance, where India and Russia are active members, promoting the development of solar energy and creating opportunities for collaboration, research, and action. Similar collaborations are also like in waste management, water conservation, sustainable agriculture, that has laid the foundation of strong partnership between Russia and India. The cooperation between India and Russia also extends beyond the bilateral agreement. Both nations have actively participated in multilateral platforms such as the United Nations in BRICS group to advocate for sustainable development and goals and address global environment concerns. As we gather today, it is essential to recognize the immense potential of India and Russia cooperation in shaping a sustainable future. By combining their strengths, expertise, and resources, these two nations can create innovative solutions, share best practices, and inspire other countries to follow suit. The challenge we face, whether it is climate change, biodiversity loss, or the need for inclusive and equitable development, requires a kind of combined effort on a global scale. The partnership between India and Russia set an example of how nations can come together to address these challenges and build a more sustainable world. So let's embark on a journey of exploration and collaboration. And as we delve deeper into the theme India-Russia cooperation for sustainable development, and together we forge a path of a greener, more prosperous and inclusive future for all of us. With these words, let me pass on to my colleague, Mr. Kilinsky, for his opening remark. Over to you, sir.
So, colleagues, first of all, it's an honor for me to be a co-moderator of such a great event. And at the beginning of the event, I would just give a couple of words on where the sustainability process is in Russia now. What I'm going to say is not a news for the Russian speakers who are present here, but I would like to introduce the sustainability agenda for our dear Indian colleagues. So if to summarize, Russia, I would say, is in the midst of its sustainability journey. Actually, some aspects of this journey have been in focus for decades. Namely, this relates to the social issues, which is a legacy from the previous times. But the complex approach to ESG, as the world currently sees it, actually gained momentum in 2021, when the sustainability agenda became one of the key priorities for the Russian government. Since then, there was a series of notable achievements, especially in the legal space. And that's actually what pushes the whole agenda in Russia forward. Among those, I should mention the strategic document. The Russia adopted the low carbon development strategy till 2050. The Russia announced its new net zero targets, which is 2060. And to start work on the strategic documents, the whole range of documents were applied. Among them, the federal law on the restriction of emissions of the greenhouse gases, and the law that gave start to the first Russian experiment on national emission trading system, and that's experiment original one, which we hope will evaluate into a full-scale system at some point in the future. In the sphere of green finance, we also made some notable achievements. Among them are several taxonomies. One of these is the Russian Green Taxonomy and the Russian Transition Taxonomy. Right now, we're going to see the third document, which is the Russian Social Taxonomy. And we hope that that document combined will give a real push for the Russian green finance market. At the same time, the Russian Central Bank applied several changes to the baseline documents in the sphere of green bond, public finance, and the standards for bonds issuance were also modernized by including the new types of bonds, I mean, sustainable bonds, green, social, etc. So that's the brief overview of what we have in Russia now. I wouldn't like to get into more details because it's like an introductory part for our dear colleagues from India. And at that point, I would like to get the floor back to my co-moderator, Dr. Anjal Prakash. Please start the session.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kilinsky. Let me just, we have already been introduced to our Indian counterparts of the panel, the esteemed panel that we have. Let me start with Mr. Dinesh Agrawal. Mr. Agrawal, Can you just give us a brief overview on what do you see India's journey on sustainability, and what are the key steps that the government and regulators are taking to take this forward? Over to you, Mr. Agarwal.
Yeah, thank you. India has taken a big lead in the area of sustainability. Right from the beginning, I would say most of the companies and the government have been taking many initiatives. But it got a momentum in 2008, I will say, when the India launched the 8th national mission under the National Action Plan on Climate Change. And that covered a solar mission, a mission on the enhanced energy efficiency, sustainable habitat, water mission, sustaining the Himalayan ecosystem, strategic knowledge on climate change, mission on green India, and mission on the sustainable agriculture. So it started a structured approach, I will say, with a clear policy intervention and established the 8 missions in 2008. And subsequently in 2022, it established another 3 missions, and that covers the coastal ecosystem, human health, and sustainable transport. These missions were interministerial missions. That means it is not controlled by one ministry, though it is coordinated by one ministry, that is the Ministry of Environment and Forest, but the responsibility of implementation lies with several ministries. Now, this was one step, but beyond that, simultaneously, I will say the Ministry of Corporate Affairs started another very interesting initiative that was on creating the National Voluntary Guidelines on Responsible Business Conduct. We called it initially the NVG, that was brought out in 2010 and subsequently in 2011, which has clear 9 principles that how the business should conduct itself on the responsible business. Now, considering the SDG, considering the several other developments and the introduction of ISO 26000, this guideline was revised in 2019, and now it is called NGRBC, National Guideline on Responsible Business Conduct, which is applicable to all the companies, and it is no longer a voluntary guideline. Taking cue from this guideline, our SEBI took the initiative for the listed companies and said that it is mandatory for the top 100 initially, then top 500 companies to prepare the BRR report on what company is doing on the sustainability, and now it is mandatory for the top 1,000 companies, and it is called the Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report. The issue here was that India doesn't want to just blindly follow the GRI framework, which was quite complex, and we thought that for India we should have an India-specific reporting framework, which we call it a BRR framework. Another interesting development that took place was the Company Act 2014, where it was made mandatory that each company has to spend 2% of its profit based on certain criteria. The applicable companies, they have to spend 2% of their profit on the corporate social responsibility, which is basically the nation development. And this is before the SDG came in the picture. And all the 12 areas are synchronized subsequently, completely aligned with the SDG that came up in 2015. So that was the proactive approach of the government of India. Now, typically when the policies or the missions are framed, it is not monitored in that mission mode. But here, the achievements in India have been significant. For example, in the solar mission, now India is the 4th largest in the solar power and the wind power in the world with the installed capacity. It has the 4th largest installed capacity of the solar power, 4th largest installed capacity of the wind power. It has a target of achieving 450 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity by 2030. And it is likely to achieve much ahead of this time schedule. So that has been the achievement, significant achievement. Then there was a clear focus on the energy efficiency, for which it introduced the policy or the framework of the PAT, that is the perform, achieve, and trade. So that if the companies are improving their efficiency, they can trade it and get more profit out of it. They also started the energy conservation building code, they started the special scheme of Ujala, under which they started distributing the LED lamp. And you will be surprised that the cost of the LED lamp, which was earlier around 310 rupees for a 7-watt bulb, was brought down to 38 rupees. I mean, almost, I will say 10%, 12% in 2016. As a result of that, today in India, you will find a LED bulb in every house, every street, everywhere. And this has reduced our power consumption significantly and improved the power efficiency significantly. We had created a specific water mission because we knew that the sustainability, the primary focus is on the water, which will become scarce, and people say that the next war could be on the water. And now every company is focusing on the water. Every municipality is focusing on the water. They have 2 separate schemes on the Atal Bhujal Yojana for the groundwater and a separate scheme for the surface water. It is being monitored rigorously, and there is a significant improvement and development in this arena. There is a focus on the green India, there is a focus on the sustainable agriculture, where now suddenly the government thought, no, not suddenly, I would say it was planned well, that focus should be on the organic agriculture. And on the organic farming, now focus is on the organic manure and reducing the chemical fertilizer and chemical insecticide and pesticide. There are several initiatives taken at the local level by the farmers, by the NGOs, and by the corporates to promote the sustainable agriculture. So another issue area is on the transport side. You will see that on the transport also, the government brought out the policy of the FAME, that is the faster adoption and manufacturing of the electric vehicle. Today in Delhi, more than 15% of the new vehicles that is registered in Delhi are the electric vehicles. And the electric vehicles, again, I mean, at least if you see that the mobiles or the bicycles or small bikes, India is flooded with the electric vehicles, and in the cars and the automobiles also, there is a huge difference now on the electric vehicle. If you look now broadly, there were about more than 122 companies which now report on the CDP. So there is a significant, I will say, interest for the corporate also on their own in the area of sustainability. 75 companies report on the GRI, but this was very limited. And suddenly under the BRSR for the same sustainability reporting, now more than 1,000 companies are required to report on the BRSR. And that is out of the 5,500 listed companies, almost 20% of the companies have to report on the sustainability. And the corporate social responsibility, you will be surprised, almost 21,000 companies are spending more than 26,000 crores of rupees on the corporate social responsibility, which is focusing on the sustainable development goals. And thus they are helping in a big way for the company, for the India to progress in the area of SDG. These are some of the areas where the corporate and the India both are progressing very well in the area of sustainability and SDG.
Thanks, Mr. Agrawal. That's a very interesting illustration of what India is doing. Let me just cross over to Mr. Sanjay Gupta. Mr. Gupta, Mr. Agrawal has mentioned very interestingly that there's been a regulation in India for top 1,000 listed companies, especially in the areas of sustainability. The forthcoming tightening of the supply chain regulations, which is in force. How do you see this affecting the foreign partners? If it will, in what way it will affect the foreign partners? Over to you, Mr. Gupta.
Yeah, first of all, I'm really thankful to Vikram and Punita, bringing all the people together, the countries which we are working for years. And, by doing this kind of roundtable, we are sure, both countries would be very sustainable. If you're looking at the clue, if you talk about India, if you look at the commitments of India, I think the battle which is being passed from 2030 to 70, the Panch Amrit, and by defining the net zero targets, by talking about the increasing dependency on the non-fossil energy, using energy share to 50%, And, talking about the reducing carbon intensity, and, all these factors is surely going to help, most of the factors. But the reason, if you look at what the lack of the commitments earlier with the Indian counterparts, but now being the foreign partners, being a part of it, that the focus is basically shifting on the supply chain. And if we're talking about the supply chain, that's going to be very forward, and the norms for supply chain is getting stringent day by day. And definitely it's going to be a win-win situation for the Indian partner as well as the Indian partner once they are aware what is the supply chain levels are. And if we talk about the, in this step, taking a few further from Mr. Agarwal, recently, if you talk about the SEBI has approved the balanced framework for ESG, disclosure rating and investing on March 29, 2023 only, quite recently. So the idea is that, apart from the 1,000 listed companies, that basically the top 150 listed firms have to pass the GLID paths. Because, the moment we are talking about the core 3, so there's the different KPIs which are coming to the play now. What was earlier happening, how to get into the touch with the more of a core 1 and core 2. It was much easier to manage and there was a lot of balances. But what about the scope 3? The moment we talk about the scope 3, it's a different dimension altogether. And in India, now under the BRSI reporting under different levels, we are covering this. So I'm sure the way the things are being set up in India, and by 2024, the top 150 market in terms of market capitalization has to compulsorily do this. So there's a assurance also which is coming into this. So there's a different level of assurances coming, the different level of commitments are coming, and by 2027, we are going to complete 2 other levels also. So the way things are moving here. So I'm sure, the way the things are being set up here, if you talk about, especially if you talk about the Russia, they are more into the defense, oil and petroleum sectors. So these are the sectors, because Mr. Agarwal was also mentioning in the transportation, other levels. So that's the cue what we are making. So now we are, India is looking at a new India, we can say. We are at every level, and especially when we're talking about the supply chain, at that the level scope 3, is going to be a different level altogether.
Thanks, Mr. Gupta. That's an interesting conversation we are having. I'm continuing this conversation. Let me cross over to our Russian counterpart, Mr. Kilinsky. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. And I would like to address next speakers. And I would like to also remind the speakers, please follow the 3 minutes to 5 minutes time span, because we're limited in time. So I'm asking Elena Mikotnikova, Head of Climate and Carbon Strategies in CBUR, to respond to the next one. So, Elena, can you please give us, maybe shed some light on how the Russian companies have progressed towards achieving sustainability in the recent maybe years? What would you like to underline and maybe stress the most important achievements?
Thank you very much. Thank you for such amazing event. So I really think we do need to bilateral conversation between Russia and India, and talks on a different levels, our science people, our business people, bankers. I'm very proud to be a part of CBUR team, and more than 2 years we have a strategy of sustainable development. I won't describe the whole strategy. I will just mention several items. For example, one of our goals is to have a completely carbon-free enterprise. An enterprise, I don't mean just a legal entity, tiny legal entity. I mean the full plant. And another area I would like to note is we are aiming to plant 5 million trees. We already planted 2 million during last year and this year, and there are 3 more. And within this project, we do support carbon farms. We even collaborated with one of our largest universities, and we support a special tree with very high CO2 absorption. I'm very proud that our partner, one of the largest Indian company, Reliance, located in Jamnagar, and we are partnering in the project of green formula, and we are planting trees also in India. Actually, next week I will be participating in G20 Mahabalipuram. Sorry for yeah, that was not easy. Mahabalipuram within G20 summit, and guess what we will be doing? That would be we will be planting trees also. So I think the collaboration between Russia and India is very important in all areas, but climate is, from my perspective, is the most important. And we do need to work on mutual recognition on our validator, verificator registers, and mutual recognition of our carbon registers. Thank you very much. I tried to be very brief.
Thank you, Elena. And now I would like to ask the same question for our guest, Sanjay Gupta. Please, can you give a brief overview of maybe the key achievements and key milestones that the Indian businesses have been through on this sustainability way in the recent years?
I think is learning from the international experience and the standardization and following up the different countries for the GHG reporting. If you look at there is a constant pattern of building block which is building up here. And that is the reason if you talk about, say you were mentioning about the Reliance, the 150 companies which we're talking about scope 3 by 2024. Now we are looking at the different levels. We are talking about the KPIs. We are talking about the reasonable assurance. And we have moved one step further. We are mandating ESG scheme to be invested 65% of the assets under AUM in listed entities where BSF code is assured. So even the investments are picking up and that's getting mandatory. And there's a mandatory third-party assurance and certification by the BOD on the compliance. So idea here is, whatever the value chain, the people who are in the value chain from suppliers to the end user, we have to reach to that level. Level 1, level 2, scope 1, we have done it. But now in the scope 3, there is a tracking at every level. From an entire business model is getting covered. So whatever the decision which is now, because in if you talk about the scope 3, the effect is not from the decisions taken by the company, it is by the outside the company. It is not within your control. So it becomes much more important because from scope 1 and scope 2, we can always control, especially in the automobile sector, by switching to renewable energy to electric vehicles. But when you're talking about the scope 3, it is coming all together. So in BRSR, if you look at the different levels of reporting, that's what India is going to achieve. And by 2024, when this 150 top listed companies, which our dear friend was talking, one of the Reliance will be also covered under this. If we talk about the State Bank of India, SBI, Tata, and so many things. So I think definitely a standard setup is getting booked in India.
And Mr. Gupta, thank you. And we have like a follow-up question to this one, to you. Probably partially already answered, but yet. When the potential Indian investment into Russia is concerned, what would a typical Indian investor expect on the sustainability side from the investee? And if Russian investment into India is concerned, what would be the requirements from the Indian side, if any, to a Russian investor coming there in terms of sustainability, please?
Yeah. So let's talk. I'll give you an example. Let's talk an Apple. For example, they are doing a manufacturing in India. So somebody is buying an Apple phone. So he wants it should be, the phone, whatever the channels it has to go through, whatever the cycle it has to go through. Every channel has to be, from the end to end, it has to be a carbon neutralized. So what is happening when we are talking about Russia or whether we are coming to India, both the countries, and we could see Russia is more into defense, oil and other sectors. So it's a very important for Russia because, whatever the under scope 3, whatever the carbon neutrality we are talking about, and India, we have already reached to a particular level today. So definitely when you are coming to an India, now the adherence is getting much bigger. Even I was talking about the investments. Now, whatever the investment which are getting in India, there is even in the public prospects, whenever you're coming in a public issue, there is you have to comment on that, on this area. So whenever any Russia is coming to or India is going to Russia for the investment, I think that is going to be the key factor today.
Thank you very much. And with this, I would like to pass the floor to Dr. Anjal Prakash to continue the moderation.
Thank you so much. Let me just, I have two people that I would like to invite here. Christina, from the head of Department of System Development at Novatech, and Mayank Tomar. And for both of them, I have a question. The question is, what strategies and initiative which has been implemented to achieve a sustainability goal in your respective countries? And are there any sector-specific challenges that you see? Over to Christina first.
Question. I will be the first, I think. So Novatech, as the largest oil and gas producer in Russia, is already contributing to the global energy transition by increasing LNG supplies with one of the lowest carbon footprint in the world. So this is our main contribution. And in 2017, we published our business strategy that included ESG issues such as decreasing our scope 1 emissions, intensity emissions, so reduction of our air pollutant, as well as increasing share of waste directed to utilization and other ESG issues. And every year we report how we make a progress towards our targets, and we have a great progress. So if you are interested, we can you can ask questions, more questions about specific targets.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just cross over to Mr. Gupta. Mr. Gupta, Mr. Mayank Tomar. Can you just tell us, Mr. Tomar, what are the strategies from Indian side that we could see, and what is any specific challenge that you have faced? Over to you, Mr. Tomar.
Yeah, first of all, good evening to all. And I will really like to thank the Indian ESG platform for arranging such an interactive session, and that too in an eco-friendly manner, which is a virtual mode. And to start with, I think I totally agree with Mr. Dinesh. India is already on a path of sustainability in various manners, like various action plans on climate change, energy efficiency. But I think the term ESG and sustainability has put up these things under one umbrella. And these things have actually started taking place by the virtue of the fact that Government of India has taken some serious initiatives in terms of the policies and in terms of the motivation to the corporates. Aligning this, the corporates have taken some very good efforts, and they have started, starting the governance part of this. Now we have corporates and companies who are dedicated ESG committee, which is a board of directors committee, who actually oversees the ESG aspects and issues to assist the board. This committee actually, guides and informs the various functional level issues to the company, so that more and more good actions and initiatives can be taken. Now the corporates and the companies are taking serious efforts for waste management. Earlier it was focus of how we dispose the waste as per the government rules. Now the trend has changed from zero waste to landfill. Now we have started thinking and implementing of initiatives where we stop polluting the landfill or stop polluting our mother earth. Now there are good amount of development in various corporates for water positivity. Various good corporates have already achieved the water positivity level, let it be on the power sector, transmission levels, even automobile is also working on it. Then there are, I will not say much of the renewable energy, because from the intended national development contribution, which is IESGC and various government initiatives, renewable energy is already on a very high pace. And all the corporates, I think, across the India are doing a very good job, either in generating of RE from their own resources, or contributing or funding to the renewable energy projects. Now, the initiative which have been taken by the various corporates has also been benchmarked by various initiatives. Now the companies have taken participating in various ESG ratings like DGSI, Corporate Sustainability Assessment, CDP, where they can actually analyze and understand their own performance against the global benchmarks. So it gives a lot of triggers to the corporates and the sectors to perform well, to understand the gaps, and it actually helps in the continuous improvement in the sustainable journey. So these are more of a climate related, but when we participate in DGSI and MSCI ESG ranking, it also triggers about the social part, whether the gender diversity is there. I'm just telling a few examples where how safety performance is driven. So ESG is not now more of a theoretical or conceptual thing. Now it has been driven by metrics. It has been driven by the intensity parameters. The KRA of the respective individuals from top to bottom of the corporates are being driven by the sustainability parameters. So the accountability has been set in India in various corporates. And I think the way it has been expanding from top 1,000 to the remaining of the companies, it will reach at a very fast pace. So these are the various initiatives from governance to environment field, the corporates or the Indian companies have taken. But still, I believe, obviously the journey is not ended. There are still challenges which has been there and which needs to be taken care. One of the big challenges, which, as Mr. Sanjay Gupta has said, is the scope 3 emissions, because scope 1, scope 2 is something which is more of a operational control, and companies are actually taking very good initiatives for reducing the fossil fuel consumption, let it for electricity, let it where they are heating applications. But the emissions which are outside their scope of boundary, that has always been a challenging part, because earlier, forget about the controlling part, the data was not available. What is their scope 3 emissions? Because as per GHG protocol, we all know that there are 15 categories. So it was actually difficult to map how much scope 3 emissions we are directly contributing. But looking forward toward the sustainable journey or business continuity of the corporates, now the initiatives have been taken where we are actually engaging or taking the vendors along with us along with their own journey, to ensure that we are not in the process of only mapping their emissions, but actually hand-holding them or providing them technical guidance, to some extent funding their projects so that their emissions get reduced, which is actually going to help us in reducing our scope 3 emissions. So scope 3 emissions, let it be on the upstream level or the downstream level, still it is a bigger challenge, but things have started moving on in India. And I think with the more ESG, benchmarking practices and more the motivation schemes, the corporates will, find us a new way. I think government can also have to play a big role, and forums like India ESG platform, CII, many other big forums of India, they can also contribute in finding various manners where scope 3 emissions can be first mapped and how they can be reduced at gradually in maybe in next to 4 or 5 years at a substantial level.
Thank you.
I think
Mr.
this is
Tomar.
I have to offer for now.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tomar. It's an interesting conversation. Let me just cross over to Russian counterparts, and I'll have one follow-up question with Madam Christina. So, ma'am, how do you see? I mean, you've seen the Indian landscape has been a strong governance effort, especially putting up frameworks and compliance issues. How do you see that spanning out, Madam Christina, in the Russian side? Has there been some changes in the regulations? Has the compliance issues been stringent? What do you see there, Ma'am Christina? Could you hear me?
Angel, can you please repeat the speaker you would like to address the question to?
Yeah, I was trying to give a follow-up question to Madam Christina. So my question to her was, the India is already on the pathways of strong regulations for a low carbon economy. How do you see that happening in the Russian counterpart? In Russia, what do you see? Is there any regulations which is strong enough for companies to follow? Or what do you see, ma'am? Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you for your question. Yes, I think that the regulation is strong enough. Moreover, I think that it is important to talk in one language. In methodologies, for example, and we see the request from our customers for methodology for LNG cargos. You know, they are interested in carbon footprint of our LNG cargos, so we're working in our own methodology that is international will be international validate, and it will help our customers in all countries, in China, India, and other countries, to know their own carbon footprint of our cargos. So it will help us to talk in one language, you know. So I think that it is very important to have unified standards, you know.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let me cross over to Mr. Kilinsky. Over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you. So given that this is the first roundtable and we have like a bit of introduction here, so the next question to our participants will be also an introductory one. So can you please probably share some sustainable solutions, maybe some examples which you are most proud of, namely in energy efficiency, water efficiency, other types of solutions which were successfully implemented in your companies respective. And I would like to ask these questions first to Mr. Surjan John. Sorry if I pronounced your name not in the right way, right, Surjan John?
Tochna. Здравствуйте, hello everyone. I'm Suchan, and I'm very happy to connect with the audience here. And as Mr. Evgeny has mentioned about these solutions, so I'm going to share what the solutions I have come across towards the environment and sustainability. It is a subject which is very, very close to my heart, and I have been working over it for last many years and developed many technologies. So, Mr. Evgeny, if you permit, can I share my screen? Because I believe I have collected some pictures that communicate more than words, so we can carry a lasting impression from them.
Can you please
allow me to share my screen?
Yes, sure. Just a minute.
Okay, thank you. So I hope my screen is visible to everyone. So I have this is the technologies which are being used to reduce the carbon footprint across the various buildings. So just very, very small figures, very plain figures, which I brought here just to communicate what we are doing, what's happening. So you can see that even though my previous speakers have already touched upon the subjects on LED, so LED bulbs are being used to reduce the energy consumption. And when they're coupled with the sensors, motion sensors, so it further reduces the energy consumption where the people are not there in the corridors or the rooms. The lights can be switched off automatically, and the whole system, including the LEDs, the HVAC, various other systems which are installed in the building, could be controlled by the building automation systems or building management systems. Once we couple them with smart meters, which actually give the energy usage in the real time, which can tell everyone how much energy we should buy and what time. So you can actually optimize your energy bills by studying your own energy patterns. Moving on to the next one. So in the renewable energy, as everyone knows that solar is the prime energy, renewable energy being used in the buildings. So it has been put up on the rooftops, where the rooftops which were not being utilized are now being utilized to reduce the carbon footprint. Even the solar is being integrated with the BIPVs, the building integrated photovoltaics, that are reducing the energy consumptions. Even the wind energy is being tried, even though it is much way behind the solar, but still it is being used for the roofs as well as in the building designs. So water conservation is being done through various water cycling. It's been done through various water recycling plants which are being installed, and the recycled water is used to for watering the plants as well as for washing purposes. The rainwater, which is also being harvested because to conserve the nature, rainwater is taken to the ground and the water table is replenished with the rainwater harvesting. Even to reduce the water usage, there are taps with the sensors so that the water taps are not left open and only the amount of water required is being consumed. So automated irrigation systems are being used for watering the plants. So even the leak detection and the repair systems are going to be the robust that are going to tell you how much leaks that could be contained, and it can increase the conservation in the buildings. So the waste management, the hierarchy goes with reducing it, reusing it, and recycling it, and the recover the energy and the metals from those waste, and then leading to the disposal. So disposal is again segregated before disposing it off, and the single-use plastics could be replaced by the reusable bags, and the disposable tableware could be replaced with the one which can be reused. So these are some of the methods that are being implemented in various buildings. So now these are some of the innovations that we have developed in last 8 years for various implementations, where we also developed an e-boat which was launched in Varanasi by our Honorable Prime Minister that reduced the water and the air pollution. And we also developed this disinfection chamber that could disinfect the person while entering a building. You can see that a number of people are standing there and they want to get disinfected before they enter the hospital. This was during the COVID times that we developed this innovative solution. And it is a completely touchless, and it is a completely great feeling. And you remain disinfected for next 3 hours using this solution. Then we also developed harmless dog guard, because in the buildings there was an issue of a lot of dogs coming up in the building. So that was contained using that dog guard. And to improve the governance, we developed this office management system where the transparency about the information is increased to the employees, and where they can monitor their own performance in the offices. So this is our flagship product, where we developed this iPanel Clean, which is a disruptive and patented technology that can double the power generation from the buildings. In the building, after you have installed the solar plants, how do you further increase your effectiveness? How do you reduce the carbon emissions? So dust is a major issue. Now here I show you how the dust is being removed waterlessly. So the water is being conserved here. Just one video I'm playing here. So you can see the dust is going away, and that increases the power generation up to 100% for the solar panels. So we have developed this technology that is also, even if you want to use water, then very little amount of water can be used. And it also saves the life of the people who are working on the solar plants. They're cleaning by conserving, by making it automated, because the solar panels pose certain amount of risk to the people who are cleaning them. So that's all from my end.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry if I interrupted you. So is it? Thanks. Thank you very much. And I would like to pass on to Russian speakers. And first, I would like to ask the same question to Olga Kalashnikova. Olga, please, some of your examples.
Thank you, Evgeny. My best greetings to all the participants in Russia and in India. My name is Olga Kalashnikova. I'm head of environment in Severstali, vertically integrated steel and mining company. We focused on ESG issues, and I would say that we are one of the participants of number of Russian and international ESG ratings. In 2021, we gained a B+ mark in CDP rating, already mentioned today several times, and our corporate climate risk management system is fully aligned with TCFD recommendations, and we disclosed our climate risk and opportunities in greater detail in our public reports available on our website. We have a robust and strong environmental management system, which is certified according to 40,001, and our key areas for development is environmental footprint minimization, rational use of energy and natural resources, wastewater quality improvement, biodiversity monitoring, efficient waste management. We have strategic goals on all our directions. Just mention a few very big projects. We are participant of federal project Clean Air, and according to this project, we need to decrease our pollutant to the atmosphere by 20% by 2025, and we have investment program to fulfill this target. With water usage only on our Cherepavets steel mill, our main focused business unit. We have operated more than 60 local recycling recycling loops, and we have reached 94% of water intake in this recycling water. We also have quite good results with regards to waste recycling, and last year over 99% of all our generated waste was recycled. Also, we are focused on biodiversity. We recognize that it is a very important part of our program, and with this respect, we developed a program with natural reservoir near to our business units, and we develop special standard how to recognize and mitigate risk connected with biodiversity. And of course, the biggest risk for us as an industry is the climate challenge. With this respect, we also have strategic goals, and Severstal is one of the lower greenhouse gas emitter in the industry. We participated in World Steel Association CO2 benchmark, and we stay with the first quartile. We have a goal, 10% greenhouse gas intensity reduction by 2060. It is more than 4 billion tons. And also we agreed to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions nearly by 50% by 2050. So with this respect, we are looking for decarbonization technologies, and we are looking for the technologies that are already available on the market. They are, I mean here, technologies like converter gas utilization, carbon capture, storage, hydrogen production, and offsetting, and also for some disruption technologies that are new technologies that will be soon go to scale. Also, Christina already mentioned that it will be great to have Russia-Indian CO2 benchmark with steel producers, and of course collaboration is very crucial for us. Thank you.
Dear guests, if you have your microphone, please put it on mute. Thank you. And I would like to pass the floor to Irina Bakhtina for the same question, the head of sustainability at Rusal. Irina, please take the floor.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues, and that's indeed a long-awaited meeting between the Russian and Indian businesses. And if you ask me about My school of sustainability, it comes from Unilever, where I spent like 12 years before coming to Russian aluminium industry. And some of the brilliant business leaders from India, such people as Harish Manwani or Sanjeev Mehta, who you obviously know, very well positioned on the Indian markets, are really my teachers in that space. And that's really honor for me to be today in with this with our dialogue. Look, to build on what was already covered by my colleagues in the Russian companies, let me state that first of all, obviously our sustainability journey for the Russian industry started a little bit earlier than 2008. It started probably in 2002, where many of the Russian companies joined United Nations Global Compact with the responsible business practices principles, which we started to implement. And if you ask most of the Russian companies who are already involved very well in the global supply chains, we are all part of the non-financial reporting. We have been part of non-financial reporting for probably 15, 18 years already. So if you ask me about the Rusal as a Russian aluminium producer, our sustainability mission or vision, long strategic vision, I would say that our vision is about making sustainability affordable throughout the whole value chain of aluminium. And this brings probably social aspect into the whole agenda, because for us it's very crucial not just provide and supply the world with the green aluminium as a metal for future, which supports infrastructure, which supports the economy of the future, but also make it affordable for the communities we service, so that they can be part of this brilliant future altogether. So in our strategy, which we've just adopted, the last final version of it until 2035, we cover 12 ESG transformation projects throughout the whole aspects, 3 aspects of ESG: environmental, social, and corporate governance. And if you ask me about the environmental part of it, it's probably the big half of the ESG transformation agenda for our company. Why? Because most, again, of the Russian companies sitting in the mining sector and being hugely dependent on extraction do really have big environmental footprint, which we are working to decouple, ensure our business growth and economic growth decoupled from the environmental footprint of our operations. So our ESG transformation projects in the environmental space do range from low carbon aluminium, atmospheric air quality, that's what Olga was talking about a little bit earlier, circular water in the key production processes, circular materials and circular economy in our production, safe operation of our mud disposal sites and other waste disposal sites, biodiversity conservation for sure. If we talk about social aspect for us in Russia, again, traditionally, we are taking care of the cities where we based, and the programs of sustainable cities or sustainable territories mostly at the core of our social agenda, along with safe workplace or future workplace projects, which are already also implementing. And finally, when it comes to corporate governance or governance aspect of ESG, obviously we are focusing on sustainable supply chain. And I was very happy to hear what Mr. Tomer was talking about, because it looks like at this stage of our evolution, Russian businesses are coming out of their own business perimeters and trying to see how we can implement those best sustainability standards and best technologies across the value chain or across the supply chain. So if you talk about Rusal, last year we've implemented our own ESG maturity assessment of our own suppliers, which come across the world also. We were looking at the suppliers of non-alumina critical materials, looking at their ESG maturity, and we were very happy to see that some of our suppliers from other countries, from Asia, South Asia, for example, do really demonstrate a high level of ESG maturity. To conclude, I would probably stress also that low carbon aluminium, which we supply to the market, is indeed of great characteristics for our customers, both West and East. And the new advanced breakthrough technology of producing almost carbon-free aluminum. Inert anode technology allows us to produce green aluminum, primary aluminum, without recycling content with the carbon footprint of 1.78 tons of CO2 equivalent per ton of metal. It's inert material without carbon emissions. And by the way, with the CDP, which was raised many times already in this discussion, we have the highest score, A-, in the aluminium sector globally. But again, we stopped getting the scores in CDP as of 2022. And that's probably one of the matters which is of our concern, because we see this unfortunate practice discriminatory, and we believe that the good Russian companies driving sustainability agenda and playing within the global value chains need to be part of this exercise. And we submit our numbers. We are fully open. We disclose it, but unfortunately, so far we cannot get the scores for our customers. So coming back probably to very finally to the question which was raised by Mr. Sukinjan, I think, about the role which the government needs to play on both sides, and what is the probably next step to develop this agenda. My view is obviously that at the moment there are some good practices which we see in European Union. We see it in China, by the way, where actually government is embedding practices of green procurement. And we believe this is the mechanism which hugely stimulates the market. It stimulates big companies. It stimulates small and medium-sized businesses to really be true to their sustainability declarations, to really be on the same page with us. So we are really actively advocating for the green procurement on the government side, so that this mechanism would support the long-term low-carbon development strategy for the countries, and also supported us as the businesses when we apply our own standards or methodologies of ESG maturity assessment to our suppliers. Thank you.
Thanks, Irina. And I just have a very brief question, but a very important one, which was asked by many Russian companies in preparation for that event. And probably Sukinjan, it's for you. In what way a Russian producer, which is a low carbon producer, can benefit from his from this type of production in India right now? And do low CO2, do low carbon products have any premium actually in the Indian market? But briefly, please, if you can. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Evgeny. No, definitely the low carbon products definitely command premium from the customers who prioritize sustainability. Now, there is a good amount of market research that could be required to know who are those customers who are prioritizing sustainability. So that is the demand and supply gap for meeting their needs, and whether that product, which is low carbon, is able to do that. Now, definitely, we have seen that most of the products that are contributing towards the sustainability as well as environment conservation are commanding premium, and the customer is also ready to pay extra for them. However, it depends purely on the awareness that has been created about the benefit it is bringing up to the community, to the customer. So the communicating the benefit is key to commanding the premium. So now how do you create that awareness? That needs to be various mechanism needs to be evolved, like creating the awareness campaigns, doing some events, right, in the urban as well as the rural bodies. So definitely once the entire sales marketing plan which has been made towards achieving this objective, premium can definitely be demanded. Now, coming to your next question, what benefit it can bring to the producer as well as the regulators. So it is a mutually win-win situation for both. Whereas the producer is able to get the market differentiation, by putting the low carbon products in the market, the government is happy to provide the incentives. So, and the compliances also further strengthen the environmental regulations, as well as the long-term sustainability of the product as well as the companies is much better for the products that are low in carbon.
Oh, thank you. So let's move on. And my next question is for Mr. Arindam Lahiri. And the question is, actually, we many times mentioned the the supply chains and the issues around the supply chains and enterprises which are in the chains, given this new regulations for the top 1,000 companies in India. So, and you're probably one of the people who can answer the question. What's the next steps for them? How would they manage that issues with like being part of the scope 3 for that 1,000 companies, and what are they doing now, and what should other people looking at them prepare for?
Yeah, thank you, and glad to be part of this roundtable today. Great learning. As far as the industry that I belong to, which is into automobile industry in India, supply chain plays a very important and critical role, and it is a very tired structure. So while the top vehicle manufacturing companies, who probably are forming the part of the top 1,000 listed companies in India, while they are significantly engaged in various sustainability practices, but a lot of their work is dependent on subsequent tiers of suppliers who are part of the small medium enterprises. And the small medium enterprises typically do not necessarily have a lot of bandwidth around investing initially on various sustainability practices, or even having access to those technologies could be a challenge. And this is where I think the OEMs, the vehicle manufacturers, typically do step in. And this has been a long-standing practice in the automobile industry, especially when we look at, I've been with this industry for over 30 years now in various capacities, including a significant part on training, where we've spent a significant amount of training resources and initiatives on building capacity for these agencies to look at low-cost implementation of sustainability practices, which all can lead up to a significant contribution to the major players. Number one. Number two is, access to technology is something which the large companies typically have. And this is where I think they can play a very significant role in educating and making these smaller organizations aware of what are some of those practices that they could initially get started with, which can have significant impact on the entire sustainability scores of these organizations. So net-net, I think the small medium enterprises, which forms the backbone of the Indian manufacturing industry, needs to be handled both from the top companies as well from the government, to incentivize them to look at adoption of sustainable practices, either in financial format or in a non-financial incentive format, so that they can actually contribute to this whole journey of greening in the entire supply chain. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with this, I would like to pass the floor to my co-moderator. So Anjal, please, it's over to you now.
Yeah, thank you so much. In the interest of time, I see that, I'll just ask one last question to Ekantarina. Sorry if I misspelled the name, and then we will go for a closing round. So Ekantarina, if you could just tell us, ma'am, what is the environmental sustainability and biodiversity issues as a primary concern for businesses and regulators in Russian side? What do you see is as?
Show the question on the screen, colleagues. It was not very well on the air.
You want me to repeat again?
Yes, yes, please. We do have the question. I guess it's one of the questions which is in the question box, right?
Okay, I have not seen the question, but yes, it is.
Yes, question 4. It is in the session 2.
Okay, let me just let me just reframe it if it is possible. Basically, is the environment concerns, is it more closer for the businesses to adhere to, or is it the regulator which is driving the change? What do you think in Russian side? What is happening?
I'm sorry, I would just like, if this is the question from the question box, I would like to ask the organizer, please, can you please demonstrate the question box, if it is the question from the question box, if I get it right. Right, Angel?
Evgeny, can I please probably take this last question and maybe elaborate a little bit on the biodiversity one as well? So to your point, the thing is that historically or traditionally, we have very strong regulation, as Christina rightly pointed out before, from Soviet Union. We had really rigorous standards where it comes to labor rights, to safety, to industrial safety, for example, to environment protection of our sites. So traditionally, these standards are heavily regulated indeed, but there are some pieces of legislation which are still missing, and this is mostly in the G aspect of ESG, in the governance. And at the moment in Russia, we are in a hot debate around the non-financial reporting, corporate reporting, which is going to be mandatory, probably, or finally. This debate takes place for many years already. It's not the first year where we discuss it, but it is now ordered by the president, to the Industrial Union, to the Bank of Russia and Ministry of Economic Development to really look into it and get the basics right. So we are looking very thoroughly into the draft legislation in this space and believe that this can be a good fundamental for us to also apply this standard to the participants of our supply chain. Because as I mentioned before, companies voluntarily do report non-financial indicators for many years, many big Russian companies. When it comes to biodiversity, again, this is a very interesting space for the business at the moment to start looking into. Many of our companies, members of National ESG Alliance or UN Global Compact, started to even publish voluntary reports on biodiversity, trying to somehow summarize what they've been done already before and trying to figure out how to move forward. At the moment, Rusal, for example, is looking into our own biodiversity program. We've just implemented or adopted the biodiversity policy last August. It's a very new document for us, and we are trying to pilot now this program at 3 production sites covering the whole value chain of aluminium production, starting from bauxite mining site to the alumina refinery site and ending with the aluminium smelter. So it is driven at the moment by international standards mostly. For the aluminium sector, for example, it is driven by Aluminium Stewardship Initiative. If I covered the
Thank you
question.
so much. That's interesting conversation and very nice. Thank you so much, Irina. Let me now, we are coming almost close to our discussion. We have only 3 minutes left. So let me just quickly go over to our panelists and from Indian side, and then I'll pass it on to on the Russian side. Mr. Dinesh, could you just give me one point that you take home from this conversation? It's just 30 seconds for you. One point.
Yeah, thank you. The one point is, okay, we both in India and Russia have taken a big lead in the area of addressing the issue of the sustainability. And this is a journey. And we both are in the same journey.
Thank you so much. Mr. Sanjay Gupta.
Yeah, I think looking at, the commonalities between India and Russia and the way it has been described, so many initiatives have been taken by Russia. And even about the maturity level framework we have, I think, definitely we can collate. And I'll request again, Punita, I think they can have a much more sessions and we can have much more collaboration. So, we can, use each other's strength to take that sustainability further.
Absolutely. I'll go to Mr. Tomar. Mr. Mayank Tomar, over to you, sir.
Yeah, I agree what Mr. Dinesh and Mr. Sanjay said. We will be looking for more interactions and sessions like this so that the best practices and knowledge sharing can happen at a regular interval of time, because both the countries have done a good amount of job in, improving their sustainable journey across in last 2 decades. Thank you.
Okay, last word from you, Mr. Sachin Jain. Over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you. Sustainability can definitely connect both countries in a very positive way, that I can see the synergies that are there in both ends. A lot of energy is there in both ends, and there is a willingness to contribute towards a sustainable world.
Okay,
thank you.
That was a very interesting take home from each one of you. Let me just cross over to Mr. Kalinsky. Over to you, sir.
So the same, I would like to address the Russian speakers. What the key takeaways from the date conference for you, and please just keep it just 1 minute time. Well, Nikita Vorobyov, it's probably we had some ground for you, but didn't manage to do. But maybe some takeaways on your side, please.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you. For me, the key is that there definitely potential cooperation both in the climate agenda and environmental agenda. I would particularly focus the issues of recycling, where we have done a big job, but there's also a lot to be done, and maybe some joint project could be launched. Climate agenda for sure, and here I think the issue of carbon pricing is one of the key ones. And I would also like to highlight that we have a big program aimed at renovation of our gas cleaning systems. And I know that Indian companies have lots of experience both in engineering and equipment supply. This is also one of the issues I would like to put on the agenda of our cooperation going forward. Otherwise, I wouldn't take up much time. Just want to thank everyone for the messages, and would like to offer the cooperation on the part of the steel industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikita. Olga, your take out.
Thank you, colleagues. From my side, I also would like to point the importance of collaboration on decarbonization breakthrough technologies for decarbonization of steel sector, hard to abate sector. I guess it is very important, and already mentioned that the unified standards and methodology and the ability to have India-Russia CO2 benchmark system also will be very useful for us. Thank you.
Thanks. Irina Bakhtina, can you please, it's always here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And indeed, we are looking forward to this collaboration between Russian and Indian businesses. And at the moment, we are already working hard to enter some of the prominent Indian ESG rankings. We have a good experience in front of us from one of our transportation companies, which already got some very good scores in ESG risk rating in India. We are looking forward to also kind of have such an experience and see how we scored on the methodology of Indian-based international ratings. Also, I would mention that probably for us, the sustainability is a balance between sustainable source base, where the water sits, where the land sits, all of the air emissions and other issues, but also it's critically important to have a long-term sustainable competitive advantage. And this is the area where we're absolutely happy to cooperate with Indian companies to be able to build it for our mutual benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. Christina.
Thank you, colleagues, for your time. It was really very interesting and important for us to have such a collaboration. And I think that the most interesting theme will be carbon trading. And I think that we can discuss more topics next time about it, and it can be beneficial for both parties, for Russia, for India. So I think that it is a good topic for future discussion.
Thanks. And we had like two more speakers, and I would like to give a floor to them, maybe to summarize their experience today. So, Irina Gaida, probably can you just give a brief comment on today's conference and what are you looking forward to? Irina? No? Oh, sorry, Irina just dropped. So, and then the last one, Anastasia. Anastasia is the representative of Russia's probably largest renewable energy company, one of the largest renewable energy companies in Russia. So maybe you're take out.
Thank you very much. It was good day. It was my pleasure to be invited here, and thank you so much for taking part in this event. And I'm from Unigreen Energy. It's the leading Russian vertically integrated group of companies producing solar energy industry, and we have our own R&D center and also manufacturing facility of 1.6 gigawatts annual production, and I would be really thankful if you could just maybe give your mails, give your contacts, and we could communicate further on our strategic partnership in the renewable energy sector. And thank you so much.
Yes, thanks. So, colleagues, for the sake of time, I would not extend into long conclusion remarks. Just would like to thank you all. Thank you for your time, and I hope that that's just the beginning, and this is the first of the series of many fascinating events which will bring us closer. And I'm passing the floor to my co-moderator, Anjal. Please, it's over to you.
Thank you so much. I think this is a wonderful discussion, and throughout our conversation, it has become evidently clear that the partnership between India and Russia holds immense potential in driving sustainable development forward. Both our nations have showcased a remarkable commitment in preserving our planet and fostering inclusive growth. And may our discussion today serve as a catalyst for combined collaboration, knowledge exchange, and joint action, as some of our speakers have already spoken about. Let us leverage on the strength of our nations, build upon the ideas shared, and inspire them to join us in this transformational journey that we have. So thank you so much, everyone. A wonderful time that we had, and goodbye and good luck to everyone. And I hope this is going to lead us to a better cooperation between India and Russia, as we have already done that. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.